with low infection rates should have been included. On the line now is Julia Bue-Said from Hertfordshire and the CEO of the Advantage Travel Partnership, the UK's largest independent travel agent group. Good morning to you, Julia.
Hello, Andy. Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. So do you agree that these measures don't go far enough then?
I do, absolutely. I mean, you feel that you have to be grateful that we've had a few more countries added on. But for the British public and for the industry, I mean, it's way too modest and really doesn't go far enough at all.
Now, help me out a little bit here, because I've only just found out where Madeira is. Where is it exactly? And is it a popular tourist destination normally?
It's on the west coast of Portugal, sort of in between, kind of north of Africa and west of Portugal. It's a beautiful island. It's a lovely island. I was there actually a few years back, but it's not going to accommodate the whole of the British population that decide to want to go on holiday. So as will be Malta. So, the reality is there are very limited choices. I think also one of the things that the consumer needs, we all need, is certainty. The Transport Secretary said this morning that effectively the government have it in their gift to make whatever decisions they want, and therefore essentially everything is on a watch list, which means anything can change at any one time. So it doesn't go anywhere near far enough for an industry that's been effectively closed down for nearly 18 months now.
Madeira is one of those 16 destinations which I mentioned. Do you expect to see bookings start coming in for them this morning? What other ones are on the list?
You've got Malta, the Balearic Islands, so they're the Caribbean islands are on there, including Barbados. So we have a few destinations on there for consumers to choose from. You do have to check restrictions that are in place for those countries as well. So just because it's on green, it doesn't mean that those countries will allow you to travel unrestricted. So we understand Malta, that we saw that very late last night on the Maltese Times. So just waiting for confirmation on that. We understand that you need to be fully vaccinated to enter Malta. So it's things like that actually we need complete clarity. It's fine going on a list, but actually what does that then mean for the destination? What does that then mean in terms of the government's ability to move countries on and off, like we saw with Portugal? Consumers need real clarity if they're going to be making these decisions.
I mean, many of those are, like I said, the islands. I mean, we've still got mainland Spain, France, Italy. Loads of popular tourist destinations are, still in the restrictions. Do you think this is tied up with tensions between the UK and the EU, do you think?
I have to say, I think in all these things, it's quite clear that, a lot of this is about politics, and I have to say control. I think you need a political will when you're talking about international borders to make things happen. If you look at Italy as an example, so actually let's be really clear, it's not illegal to travel. We're allowed to travel anywhere we want from the UK, but there are restrictions. So if you decide to go to Italy today, they're in an amber list for returning back into the UK, which means you've got to do your testing and isolation. But actually, the rules to enter in Italy, you'd have to isolate right now in Italy for 5 days before you could go anywhere. Germany have introduced 14 days restrictions, isolation periods for anyone entering Germany from the UK. So the borders are actually closing up around us, even with the government, looking at the list from a return back to the UK perspective. It's a very complex process. But actually, it does show you need that political will internationally. You need to have really, the appetite has to stem not just from the UK government wanting to hopefully open up at some point, but also make sure that they are in discussions with their international counterparts.
Now, we spoke earlier in the week ahead of you and the travel industry lobbying the government. How do you think that went? Have you had any MPs come on board and support you?
We've been really lucky, actually. So we have there's a real groundswell of MPs that are very supportive, completely understand the travel industry, really do understand the need to reunite people around the world. So of course, we don't just provide holidays. We support, families being reunited, but also business travel is significant for this country. We are a trading nation, and actually our competitive edge is leaving us by the day at the minute because of the restrictions that are in place. So we've got some great support from MPs that came along to our Travel Day of Action who were very receptive. There was a debate in Parliament yesterday which Henry Smith, who chairs the Future of Aviation Strategy Group, he chairs, and there is support. However, We need much more. We need much more, input and I guess support from MPs to really understand the devastation that the travel industry, the first industry to be hit, we're going to be the last one out of it. And actually, there is no relevant support to really help the industry through this.
Julia, it is very, very, very confusing. If because you mentioned we're not, we are not banned from travelling, but there are just restrictions in place. But wasn't there earlier on that you couldn't travel unless it was for business or family issues? Is that now not in place then?
Yeah, so we had a period of time where the UK government, put a ban in, essentially, and made international travel illegal. That was lifted on the 17th of May. So as of the 17th of May, travel is not illegal from the UK. It's just very heavily restricted. And that really gets lost. And the reason it gets very lost is because of the ambiguity when ministers have been speaking about travel, and they demonise it. And they actually, to be honest, they make travellers feel bad. They make the British public feel bad because they want to go overseas to visit their grandchildren, their families, who they haven't seen for nearly 2 years. Our aim and our objective here is to keep engaging with the government. We want to have a really positive dialogue, but it's really important that we safely and ambitiously open up international travel. Given the success of the vaccine, we know that the ministers are looking at opening up travel for those that have been fully vaccinated, but there is no timeline. There is no certainty. So we don't understand even in that respect why that's been delayed. But
even if we do open up, as you've mentioned, other countries are saying, well, you'll have to do restrictions when you come over to us. So you've mentioned Italy and you've mentioned Germany. Are they doing the same thing? Like you've got to stay in a specific hotel if you come over to them?
They vary. No, some of them vary. So, for example, if you're travelling to the Canaries, there's one that I can think of right now. If you're travelling to the Canaries, if you're staying in a rented accommodation, so to speak, in a hotel, then you need to get a PCR test done, but you need to wait in that accommodation until your negative result comes through. So every destination is very different. My advice on that, because there are people that want to travel, but they are uncertain and clearly quite nervous. My advice really is, really think about who they book with. Make sure they're booking with a financially protected travel agent who will hold them all the way. They need to be looking at the flexibility because things may change. Make sure they have adequate travel insurance, but just make sure they're speaking to a human agent who can really help guide them.
How long can your business sustain itself under these current conditions?
I think the reality is, the travel industry has been decimated. You cannot go 18 months with no income, and not only that, because of the way the travel business works, you've had to refund back any income that you earned in the previous year. I've sort of used an analogy before. It's no different to, having an extension built to your house and you say to your builder, that's great, but I don't want it anymore. Can you take it all down, but also give me back my money? And the builder's standing there saying, well, actually, I've not been paid. That's how the travel industry operates. It's not sustainable. There are many businesses that are absolutely on a cliff edge now. Tailored financial support has not been offered, given the restrictions that continue to be in place. Nearly every other economic sector has had the opportunity to trade its way out into recovery. The travel industry hasn't. It is shackles. The shackles are still lifted. The shackles have not been lifted, and they're unable to trade. Even this new list today does not give certainty, and it does not give the breadth of destinations the travel industry really needs to start meaningfully.
Julia, appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Andy. Thank you.
So, like I said, 16 countries have been added to the UK Green List.